Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Live within your means. Live within your means. And you know what? Or even below your means. I could add to that title. Because I'm going to tell you what. Everything going on now, the worst thing someone can do is live beyond their means. You know they only making like $50,000 a year, maybe even as a household. Hey, don't laugh about it. I know a lot of people be talking about six figures, but you only have, in the American population, you only have really less than 25% of people who make above 50,000. So trust me, that's still a lot. But you get some people who be making that much, but they living like they making 100,000. You know, they be using credit, they be buying stuff they can't really afford, all of that. I'm going to tell you what, it's a real problem because, we already have the great resignation, but what's being kept quiet is we're going to have a lot of people who are going to be laid off of jobs and stuff because think about something. You got this great resignation. People, these people, they ain't making money like that. They resigning and a lot of them ain't getting jobs and they ain't making as much money. If they ain't making as much money, they ain't spending as much money. So there's going to be some places where they just not going to make money. There's going to be some businesses, they ain't making money because there ain't nobody around to buy stuff from them. Seriously, the profit margins can be that slim. Seriously, you got a lot of businesses. Like I remember this bookstore owner, and this was a long time ago. He said he could live off 100 people buying stuff from him, supporting his store. All right. So what if it's a situation like today? Say somebody else had a store like that. And depending on the products in there or what they selling, they could. 100 people a month. What happens when 30 of them stop buying there? It makes a big difference. So understand that so that everybody can be affected. And with everything happening now, you got the inflation. A lot of people who've been talking about it, they saying, well, it might last a few months. It'll go down at some point. Yeah, but they're not sure. Okay, stuff is more money. That could affect, depending on where you work, that could affect where you work. And they might say, look, we ain't make as much money. People ain't buy stuff. We got to lay you off. That's my point. With everything going on, with every single thing going on, you never know. Because even now, even before all of this happened, I never forget what was always said. I never forget what was said. It said half of Americans couldn't handle a $400 emergency. Think about that, $400. Of course, you got some Americans, they spend $400 without thinking about it. That's like fun money. They see some $400, they just buy it. Yeah, but the other half, though. But the other half is the ones who be living beyond their means. I'm going to tell you something now. I'm going to tell you, and this is something I do personally. If people see where I live and everything, I actually live modest, extremely modest compared to what I could live on. Because I live on about 40% of my income every month. 40%. Like on the daily stuff now, I had to get some large items lately. I had to get some new glasses, a couple pairs of glasses, and ain't got a couch and some bigger stuff. But if it was tight, it was stuff I didn't really need. Which means I'm only counting what I live on, the bills I pay every month, the rent. Can't count my car anymore because that's paid that off in a year. And even that was actually, if I said I'll just keep like if I said let me just keep a regular car note or something like that, I would still be under 40%. Now, I ain't saying this to brag, but it was like one of the things I saw was how money could change, how things could change. I'll use an example from YouTube. I'll never forget March of 2017. I'm still working on a full-time job. My plan was to leave that full-time job that month. That was a plan. Now, what happened? The ad apocalypse. Some long-time people who've been on YouTube, especially around that time, probably remember, especially some content creators. People were making money like crazy. Whatever anybody making now, it was more then. Like people were getting paid off of YouTube. Then they had that ad apocalypse where people, businesses were cutting back on ads. Oh, that hit some people. That slowed me down for a few months. That slowed me down from just being full time on YouTube, social media, and stuff. But my thing is that can always happen. Even now, I don't care how much money people making on YouTube. I don't care. You never know what can happen. You never know. Because, well, I ain't going to get into what I've been hearing about people's channels being snatched and something like that, which I've seen. There's some people, they making some money and say they only making $2,000. Well, only, that's good for some people. But let's just say 2,000. Well, all they need is 3 copyright infringements and then boom. That's it. Or something, 3 strikes or something like that. That's all they need. All of a sudden, it gets cut. You know, no matter what. I don't care what, unless you own an essential business and you have a strong customer base, or you one of those people who've been listening to Rom's advice about, or someone's advice about income producing assets like stock or something, like you got a great portfolio where you could weather a storm, and a lot of rich people do, anything can happen. See, here's the thing. If you live below your means, you can handle anything. It's not a big dip to like lose a lot of money or lose the income because you were living below it anyway. In fact, I remember back in the 80s, y'all remember when Doug Williams, he was the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl 17. Y'all remember that? And, they would still follow him the next year. And he would give a lot of advice to people, like younger players. He would say, back then making $80,000 a year was enough for it. Y'all couldn't imagine, but there was a lot. Shoot, this probably is still a lot for some pro ball players. But, what he had actually said, he told a player, he said, okay, you're making 80, live off of 40. Live off of 40. That way, if you don't make the team, something happened, you can handle it a lot better, And that's one of the things, just do that nowadays. Don't live above your means. Live within your means. Live below your means. Then this don't mean just be totally like just jacked up or anything. But let's be real. A lot of people buy a lot of extra stuff they don't need. One thing when I buy stuff, and I make this recommendation, think of it as an investment, even if it's clothing. Like, just buy stuff you absolutely need for a reason, or you can make money. All right? But live within your means, because everything going on financial, I don't know how long it'll last, but one way or the other, it could be 1 year, it could be 10 years, it'll be over. And one thing, if you notice, rich people who are very smart with how they live, they ain't going to complain. Have you noticed that? But one thing with rich people don't might not realize, but the majority of people who are rich or wealthy don't live the full extent of what they could live. You'd be surprised who lives in an ordinary place or, modest house. There was a book that was out years ago called The Millionaire Next Door. There's a lot of millionaires living in regular neighborhoods and nobody would know. All right? So I want y'all to think about that, especially in these times. Live within your means. All right. So that's all I have for now. Get back with you. Let's go make that money.